All right, guys, episode 2, I wanted to talk about something I get asked a lot because I wanted to have a central video. So when I get asked it again, I can be like, hey, this video describes it perfectly. The thing I get asked all the time by specifically people that have addicted loved ones is, Valerie, how did you get clean? Now, before I tell the story, I'm just going to say this. I'm wearing a wine consultant shirt. When I say clean, I mean off drugs, okay? I don't owe anyone an explanation, but I'm just going to put it in a quick blurb right here. How can I say it? I'm not part of the population that substitutes one for another. Wine became a part of my life after I was 3 years clean off drugs. I use cannabis products because I don't want pharmaceutical medication to manage my anxiety and ADD. That's it. That's all the energy I'm devoting to that. So if you're a real hardcore 12-stepper, or if you're super duper religious and you guys kind of believe all substances are the same or whatever, this may not be the channel for you. But if you are an open-minded 12-stepper or an open-minded religious person, you might find a lot of value here. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to make way more videos on how I'm able to do that, why, what the science is behind, the anomaly of people being able to get clean off of drugs and then they can enjoy a glass of wine or use cannabis products because weed is medicine. But anyways, moving on. So June 16th, 2016 is the day that everything changed. I was a drug addict of 15 years prior. Crack cocaine and opiates were my drugs of choice. I used cocaine from 14 to 15, powder. When I turned 16, crack cocaine was introduced to me by my mother. Between 16 and 17, I used that exclusively. 17, perk 30s came on the scene. And if I ever use a term you guys don't know what I'm talking about, ask me in the comments. I'm an open book. I'm here to educate and inspire. Perk 30s hit the scene. I started shooting those up intravenously. I used cocaine and perk 30s until Dilaudids came out. After Dilaudids, they got really expensive. Heroin hit the scene and it was a lot cheaper. So that's kind of the timeline really quickly of, the drugs that I used. The last day that I was ever out on the streets, I had been up for 13 days straight. Mind you, when people make crack cocaine, they put all sorts of stuff in it. Before I left the street scene, flakka, molly, and meth were really heavy. They were getting popular in the Daytona Beach area. And then heroin started to hit the scene, but people were already starting to add fentanyl and carfentanil to the heroin, and a lot of people were overdosing. Carfentanil is an elephant tranquilizer. 2 granules will take out a human, and you got Joe Blow sitting here in his kitchen mixing it up, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So people were dying left and right. And it was 2 p.m. It was the middle of the afternoon. I was staying in a little rundown motel in Daytona. I won't say the name because I'm not trying to ruin businesses here, but I had just scored and I had about, $60 worth of crack. I had 2 pills and a little baggie of heroin. So I had $100 worth of drugs. And mind you guys, I'm not getting this stuff for free at this point. Okay. So I'm prostituting to support my habit. And being up for 13 days, you start to lose control of your motor skills. You start to lose, control of, your nervous system, things like that. So if you've ever seen someone twerking and tweaking and eyes, they just look nuts. That's why. One of the reasons why. And that's what I looked like. It was so bad. I would actually be standing up and then I would wilt, bend over at the waist, just and then shoot back up. I looked kind of like those balloon guys at the car sales place. That's what I looked like. It's not funny, but that's what I looked like. And I knew it. In my mind, I was like, bitch, you look dumb. But I couldn't stop. I just had to keep getting high. And here's where it happened. Here's the pivotal moment. Some call it clarity. I call it insanity because a drug addict would never do this. I looked at all my drugs and then I looked in the mirror. There was a mirror right there. And I saw my face all, and I was like, you're going to do all this and then you're going to still look like that. And you're going to go walk the streets, go hop in some random stranger's car and hope you live. Hope so you could live, so you could do this again. Over and over and over and over and over. That was my cycle. That's what I was alive for at that point. And the pivotal moment came when Ooh, sorry, I got emotional there. I'm like reliving it in my head. It's just powerful how it happened. I had this moment of intense, primal survival. I didn't want to die. And that was it. That was my decision. I was like, Val, you've already been to jails. You've already been to institutions. Death is the next end to habitual drug use. Your turn's coming. I mean, that's what happens, guys. Like, that's it. That you don't get I'm going to do drugs the rest of my life and live successfully. Like, that doesn't happen. You get jails, institutions, and death. And I had already been through 2. So death was approaching. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know what number I had on my back. Do you know what I mean? And people were dying around me. They were ODing. I had heroin, which, by the way, I had got from a new guy. This was not my usual guy. I didn't know what was in that. I was just hoping it was okay. And that's what drug addicts do all the time. They just hope it's okay. There was girls, prostitutes that were getting hurt. There was one in particular I'll never forget, was killed, dismembered, and left in the woods. They found her 6 months later. I am so sorry to her parents, and I hope nobody ever has to go through that. But her story still sticks with me today, and it was very fresh back then. And I said, that could be me. Who's to say? Who's to say when I finish this, or if I even get to, because I don't know what this heroin's about yet, who's to say that I'm going to live? And I didn't want to die. And after I made that decision, I was like, all right, I don't want to die. Cool. Now what? Because getting clean is not like I pick up the phone, I call the rehab, and I was like, hey, I'm done doing drugs. And they're like, okay, we have a bed for you. Come on in. It's not like that. You got to jump through hoops. It's hard. If you're an opiate addict, you got to go through the withdrawals while you're on the waiting list. And a lot of us don't make it. Okay. Even if you're court ordered, you still have to wait in jail. And you got precedence over a lot of other people. It still takes a long time. And I knew that. I was like, all right, I'm ready to stop this right now, but I laugh because this is crazy. I was like, all right, the answer to this question is we have to get arrested. Let's go to jail. It's instantaneous. Like if you walk out there with a misdemeanor, which a crack pipe is a misdemeanor. I was not bringing drugs because that's a felony. If you walk out there with a misdemeanor, they have to charge you for it. You're going to go straight to jail. And the benefits of that is you can't get out. When it gets too hard or you're like, oh, I want to get high. You start withdrawing. You can't go nowhere. And they don't give you nothing, by the way, to make it easier in jail. It fucking sucks. But I committed. And without skipping a beat, I was like, all right, let's do it. I didn't even think about it. It was like something took over my body. And I actually had this realization when I told this story to another friend of mine. It was almost like someone, something, some power, whatever you guys believe in. It was like the universe knew if I went forward, if I went ahead with this pile of drugs, I wasn't going to make it. I was either going to overdose or I was going to walk out of there and get killed doing a prostitution transaction. That's why I had this, I call it insanity, because anyone who has been on drugs or lived a life similar to mine, you can relate. You're like, jail is the last place I would want to go. But I was like, no, we're going. That's where we're going right now. And I didn't even think about it. I was like taken captive. So I knew I wasn't going sober because I hadn't gotten high up until this point. So I packed as much crack as I could in that pipe. I hit it. High as shit, guys. Walked out of that motel room, stood on the corner because I knew I looked crazy. I knew that someone was going to call the cops because I'm just tweaking all over the place, bending over and, looking like the car guy. I knew somebody was going to be like, we need to help her. And they did. Daytona citizens did what they do best. They called the cops. And 2 officers V'd up behind me like less than 10 minutes later. And it was an older gentleman and a female cop. They got out and an older gentleman says, excuse me, ma'am. Hey, are you okay? We had someone call. They said you're not looking all right. Can I see some ID? I turned around. My stem is still hot. Like they probably got there quicker than 10 minutes. It was fast. Hot stem in hand. I turn around and I'm like, no, I don't have an ID, but I have a crack pipe and you need to take me to jail. And they looked at me. And they looked at each other. And then they looked around. They canvassed the area because I'm pretty sure they thought that they were on some sort of punked show. And I could see that. I was like, oh my God, they don't believe me. I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, take me to jail. I don't want to die. I want help. Like, I don't want to be out here anymore. And they, they could hear the sincerity in my voice, and they saw like I was serious. I meant business. And they treated me with the most compassion. I wish I knew them officers' names. I don't, and I would thank them publicly. Whoever they are, you know, they were just divine. They really were. They treated me with integrity. And if they did tell me, though, they're like, you know, we never get calls like this. I'm normally dragging people to be Baker acted or to jail or whatever. Like, nobody is coming to me saying, hey, arrest me. I'm done with drugs. Do you know what I mean? He had to. He charged me with possession of paraphernalia. I went to jail. I ended up doing 17 days altogether. The longest 17 days of my life, okay? And then I got out, and I'll make a video for the rest of the story. I got out and it wasn't easy, okay? It wasn't like peachy keen and everything's all better and like, oh, you know, the angels sung when I left the building. That's not how it was. It was hard. It sucked. I went through a lot of hardships. But the decision I made in that hotel room of I don't want to die stuck with me for a long time until I finally got my shit together. So my thought process today is not I don't want to die, because I'm not in survival mode anymore. It's more like I want to live. How can I live? And we say this phrase all the time like it's cute, but it's serious. How can I live my best life? Like, go live your best life. Do whatever you want that makes you happy. And that's the kind of life that I live today. So ending this video, if you're here, if you're a loved one specifically who's here trying to get answers, and you're like, all right, I got this person in my life that is currently on drugs, and I came to your video, Valerie, because I wanted an answer, I probably didn't deliver that. I know I didn't, because I can't. I'm not capable of that. Every person has their own story. Every person has their own timing. And the reality is, and what I'm going to say next is probably going to hurt. But I made a promise to myself and to everybody when I made this channel that I'm never going to hide the truth because it hurts your feelings. Because I would rather you have your feelings hurt because you just heard some truth than find out later I lied to you. So the truth of the matter is, you can't help them get clean. You can only love them from a distance. You have to love them for who they were, okay? Who they were. You always have to remember the person before the drugs got a hold of them, because the person you're looking at today who's high, who's on drugs, who's drunk, who's drinking, who's gambling their life away, whatever the addiction is, okay? You guys fill in the blank. That person you're looking at today, that's not them. It's not. We can get all spiritual with it if you want, but even scientifically, drugs rearrange the brain. They switch, pathways, even in certain instances. After long-term use, your DNA is changed. So you are essentially a different person. But I mean that on the most basic level. So love them from afar. Love them when they can't love themselves. And lastly, before I end this, do not confuse love with enabling. Okay? Loving an addict does not mean give them money. Loving an addict does not mean give them a place to stay for free. Give them food. Give them this. And I can't imagine, because I am not the parent of an addict. But I am a parent. I can't imagine having an addicted son or daughter and the only thing I care about is keeping them alive. And I have some girl on a YouTube channel telling me not to give them food. Like, here's why. The more you make it possible for them to take responsibilities off their checklist so they can make getting high a priority, you're keeping them sick. Sorry, not sorry. I say that with the most and deepest respect for any parent that's watching this right now, or any person of a loved one. And if I'm not giving you a checklist, of what to do and what not to do, I'm going to keep it really simple. All right. Here's how you know you're keeping an addict sick. If the addicted person is happy with you right now, you are enabling them. You are doing something, whether it's big or small, that's taking a burden, a responsibility off of them that they don't have to deal with to make it easier for them to get high. If the addict is not happy with you and they're mad at you and I hate you, I can't stand you. If they're doing that, it's because you're probably doing some stuff that they don't like because it's making it harder for them to get high. It's making it harder for them to check off the necessary responsibilities that they need to do before drugs, happen. All right. Okay. So that is the happening of how I decided that I did not want to do drugs anymore and how, what happened after that. I know that's not typical, okay? But my story is my story, and I just want to share it with people. So I hope in the next few videos, I'm gonna kind of break my story down into segments because I don't want to, I want to honor your time. We're getting over 15 minutes. I want to keep them into short videos that you can kind of just digest here and there, and then we'll put it all together, kind of deal. All right. So other than that, any questions, comments, concerns, all the things, let me know in the comments. I'm here to answer it all. I like engagement. This is a very, interactive channel. That's what I want to create. So I need your help doing that. So yeah, or if you liked what you saw, let me know. If you believe that this video could help somebody, you absolutely have my permission to share it. You don't need to ask me. That's what it's here for. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with the rest of my day, and I hope you guys have an amazing day too. Remember, love yourself from a pure spot, okay? Always make sure happiness is your choice, and it is at the first and foremost front of your mind, all right? Because you're only responsible for yourself and nobody else. Love you guys.